cactus and succulent growers, it's Lynn, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about why your succulent plants and even your house plants are starting to grow mushrooms in their pots. And if you have this happen to your house plants or your succulents and you notice they're springing up these little mushrooms, I'm going to talk about, is it harmful to the plants, and also is it harmful to you and pets and young children? Well, first of all, this mushroom that you often see sort of at this time of year, late summer and into the early fall, you'll often see it spring up in indoor plants. And you very rarely see them growing outside. This particular mushroom is called a Leucocoprinus burnbormanii. What a name, and it sounds like a cactus. And it's commonly known as the plant pot dappling mushroom because you only really see it in plant pots. And the reason why this occurs is usually down to, first of all, it's down to the soil usually being a little bit too moist. And this will encourage these mushrooms to spring up, usually at this time of year, sort of the early fall time. And what actually causes it? It's caused by a fungus called mycelium. And the fungus itself is actually beneficial to the soil. And this mycelium sort of can stay like pretty dormant into the soil most of the year. And once the soil gets a little bit too wet, and usually in the autumn, fall time, these mushrooms will spring up. But the mycelium is beneficial to the soil because it breaks down organic matter in the soil and it actually releases nutrients into the soil. So mycelium itself is beneficial, including these little mushrooms, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in a bit. So first of all, is it harmful? Well, it's certainly not harmful to your plants at all. And I actually leave them growing. I think they look cute. And usually they only last a couple of days or so. And then once they sort of dry up, then I sort of mix them with my little fingers there and it turns into a powder which goes onto the soil. Then I rake it in. It's beneficial to the soil, as I mentioned. However, if you've got this happening on succulents, such as I have here with one of my Sansevierias, it's often a sign that the soil has been kept too damp for too long. Succulents like to dry out in between waterings. And funny enough, I'm extremely careful with watering succulents, including this Sansevieria. And I literally only gave it a water a couple of days ago because it was dry. The soil is now completely bone dry again, but it's still sprung up this little mushroom, so I don't have to worry. But if you have these mushrooms coming up on your houseplants or your succulents, while the mushrooms themselves are harmless, it could be a sign that you may be overwatering a little bit too much with your houseplants or succulents, so just go easy on the water. The mushrooms themselves, as I mentioned, are totally harmless. Now, are they toxic? Well, there's a lot of information online. Some say that this particular mushroom isn't toxic. Some say they are. So I would go on I would be careful, and I wouldn't recommend eating it, obviously not. So if you do have young children or pets, then I probably would recommend pulling it out, just in case they could be tempted to eat it. And while it's not going to kill them or anything, if it is toxic, it could give them a nasty stomachache. So just bear that in mind. Other than that, it's completely harmless. And just wanted to do this little quick video to let you know that this little mushroom and the other types of mushrooms that nearly always grow on top of plant soil, indoors anyway, is nearly always this Leucocoprinus burnbormanii and the plant pot dappling. So completely harmless. So what do I do with this? As I mentioned, I already leave it. I don't have to worry about children and young pets. So I would just leave this for a day or two. This will nearly always sort of dry up and die back. And then I literally go like that with my fingers and it goes into a white powder. And then I just rake it into the soil, and it's very beneficial. As I say, the mycelium, which is what the fungus is what breaks down the soil, that breaks down the organic matter in the soil and releases nutrients. This is actually a sign that you've got healthy soil, guys, so not a problem. But as I mentioned, with succulents, if this is happening a lot, it could be that you're keeping it a little bit too damp in between waterings. So I hope you found that useful. I just want to mention a little bit about mushrooms as well. What's interesting about them, you often see them that they come under they're classed as plants, but mushrooms, toadstools and fungi are not plants. You've actually got the animal kingdom, you've got the plant kingdom, and then you've got the fungi kingdom. And the difference between fungi and normal plants is that fungi don't produce chlorophyll like normal plants do. And plants produce chlorophyll because that's their food. They need that. They actually take the produce chlorophyll by sunlight and daylight. Mushrooms are a little bit different in the sense they don't need to do that, which is why you nearly always see them sort of growing in woodland and places like that. And if you want to see a very hilarious video of a rather unusual mushroom toadstool I saw quite a few years ago when I was out on my morning walk. It's very, let's just say, naughty looking, and I hope you get a few laughs from it. Then you must check that video out, guys. I'll link that video up above and down below in the video description. I'm sure most of you wouldn't have seen it because it's one of my earlier videos. It'll just give you a bit of a giggle. So no, it's harmless, and it's a sign that you've got good soil, guys. Thank you so much for watching. For lots more tips and tricks, don't forget to subscribe. Do click that notification bell. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, Desert Plants of Avalon. And do check my website out, desertplantsofavalon.com. I want to wish you all a fantastic plant-powered, mushroom-powered day. Wacky. I just need some little fairies.